after he arrives, after the second coming of Christ, and he has the separation of the wheat and the goat, wheat and the tares, the sheep and the goats. Then he'll regather all of his people to Israel. It has not happened yet. The church teaches that happened in 1948, and it's a lie.
Okay. That's when Israel became a nation?
Israel became a nation from the Illuminati. It was all set up.
Okay.
And those people in Israel today, the ones running it, the Zionists, New World Order freaks, they're not real Jews. And they're
Ashkenazi?
The Ashkenazi, the Khazar Jews, they're not real Jews.
Oh, okay.
There is a remnant of real Jews over there, at least probably a third of them, but they're as helpless against their Zionist government as we are against ours, our New World Order government.
And they're called the Sephardic Jews?
Yeah, Sephardic or Khazar, everybody has a different name for them.
Oh, okay.
I call them serpent seed. You know what I said? They adopted the religion. They were never real bloodline.
Okay, well that leads to my next question. I read an article, one of your articles, and you mentioned something about shape-shifting. Can you explain that to me?
Shape-shifting is like, well, you've heard of werewolves.
Yes.
And those are real people, and it's a powerful demon that controls them, that allows them to shape-shift into a werewolf. I don't know if you know witches, where they shape-shift into cats, or an old
Well, I've
people.
never seen it in person.
Yeah, we've heard of these things.
Have you ever seen something like that in person?
No.
Okay.
But other people have. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist just because I haven't seen it.
Right.
You know,
that's true.
But other people have. They've experienced seeing people shape-shift. You can watch the State of the Union address, ask the Lord to give you eyes to see, and you'll see half of them looking green. Their hair is green, their skin's green.
Bill Clinton or Al Gore.
Yeah, they're lizards. I mean, you go to my website, thewatcherfiles.com, and you could have a ball there. I mean, I've got links on did Clinton shapeshift, did Al Gore shapeshift, and all different kinds of stuff. Ted Kennedy.
He claims to be the father of the internet. Al Gore.
Yeah, I have fun with that one because we know he's controlled by an Omegan spirit, an Omegan host.
So you think he was telling the truth?
Well, he personally didn't, but probably the host the demon, the alien that hosts him, that's all he did. We know the aliens invented the internet. I mean, Satan's not stupid. Satan's very high tech. People don't understand that. They think he's sitting in an old chair down in hell waiting for judgment. They don't understand that he rules the first and second heavens, that he's got a very organized kingdom, that it's very high tech. And they use computers to keep control of everything.
In the book of Enoch, it mentions some Kazi or some Zazi. Yeah,
you pronounce it as good as I can.
How is he related to Satan?
Well, the Watchers' rebellion was separate from Satan's rebellion, but they are still under Satan's authority because he rules over all of them. He was the first one to rebel. Wow. Okay. And so, Satan's rebellion took place before the Watchers' rebellion did.
Okay.
The thing being is that there's two different races out of that because there was two different rebellions. And his whole group, his whole faction that rebelled with him, part of their judgment was to lose their looks. They no longer could look angelic. And so that's why they look grotesque, like reptilians and lizards. Snake people, lizard people, the greys, reptilians, all the 200 different forms of grotesque-looking types of aliens in our solar system.
200 different forms?
Yeah, I think I've got like 153 on my website listed.
Wow.
And somebody sent me a thing. Why do you have it listed? Why is it that important? It's not that important. It's just there for info. But another thing is that with Enoch's rebellion that he describes, the Watchers' rebellion, they didn't lose their looks as part of their judgment. They just lost their powers and they were kicked out of heaven. So they still look angelic.
So those were the ones who mated with women?
Yeah, and they're humanoid looking. They look like humans. They're just very tall. They're giants.
So who are their descendants on Earth today?
Well, they still have, who are their descendants?
Yes.
Well, they've been interbreeding with humans. I mean, it's gone through a lot of generational lines. The contamination, the Lord said that in the last days it will be as the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, he was the only pure family left with pure human DNA. And so that's what we're pretty much looking at now, is all these generations of humans today all have contaminated blood. Okay. I mean, not all, but the majority, because it's going to be as in the days of Noah. He never stopped.
I have two more questions. The next terrorist attack, what do you think it'll consist of? You think it'll be nuclear, some kind of nuclear holocaust? Or?
Well, you know what? Nuclear isn't the scary word it used to be. Because when you look at nuclear bombs going off now and all these scare tactics we read about during the Cold War, how we'd be sunk in nuclear winter for 50 years with, 100 degrees under zero freezing and all this stuff, and now they're unleashing nuclear bombs all over Iraq every day and it's still standing.
Well, not of the magnitude that, not the huge ones.
But it never has been sunk in a nuclear winter like we were always, in fear tactics, I think suitcase bombs will go off here. I think it's just a matter of time. But these suitcase bombs, we also have, if the suitcase bombs don't work, they'll just open the silos up and hit a city with our own missiles here. I mean...
Do you have any idea which cities we should be wary of?
Los Angeles, San Francisco, Houston, Dallas.
What about cities in the southeast?
Not really, Phoenix. Watch for Phoenix to go up and smoke. I'm always looking for that one because it's so symbolic of their own, the phoenix bird.
Mm-hmm.
That they, Hillary Clinton wears a phoenix lapel or a phoenix pin on her lapel all the time. And a lot of these New World Order freaks will wear the phoenix bird instead of the eagle because it looks a lot like the eagle. And when the phoenix, after, chaos, they'll rise. And so if you look at Phoenix, destroyed and exploded and then come rise out of the ashes, the New World Order. It's kind of like a symbolic thing.
What about the cities that have these underground tunnels? You think they'll be...
Well, the problem with that is that the aliens aren't stupid. And so what they've done is they've moved a lot of their cities and ground operations bases underneath our own cities. So if they want to get to them, they got to go through their own cities. Almost every city in the United States has an alien underground base underneath it.
And one more question. You mentioned last week, but you were almost about to say it, and then somebody said you had a phone call. You were about to mention something about body bags being seen in different parts of the West or Midwest.
Yeah, the Midwest, about 6.4 million. I don't know, I can't remember what state. I talked about it with Bill Deagle. And, they're getting ready for a huge fallout, either from this, Bill Deagle seemed to think was going to be this avian bird flu pandemic that hits. And it might be this disaster they're planning down in Arizona. Who knows? I mean, you can tell they're setting up for martial law. They're going to have some disasters here. They want to get their program started. We've got a 2-year time limit.
Just a smoke screen?
Yeah, they're using a lot of them because, you know what, they're not counting on any one route to get where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have several. And that's the way Satan operates. He never just counts on one thing. He has 4 or 5 out there, and he's going to come through the back door with something you totally don't expect.
Well, so you think this Terry Schiavo case is just a smoke screen?
Yeah. I think it's, unfortunate, for her.
Right.
But yeah, they're using it to their advantage, put it that way.
Okay.
They're definitely using it to their advantage because while we're having fits about Terry Schiavo, he's sending our boys and girls to the Middle East again. And people aren't really going to start getting really angry until this forced draft comes up.
Well, so what if I think you sound like you would be of a draft age.
No, I'm out of draft age. I'm a mom.
That doesn't mean we have a lot of moms in the National Guard.
Yeah, you know what? If they taught me how to shoot a gun, I'd point it right at them. I ain't gonna shoot no Iraqis. I ought to get me some neocons.
Yeah.
So they better not even teach me how to turn one on. I've never handled a weapon. I don't plan on ever handling a weapon. That's,
Well, they're trying to take away our guns now, so...
Yeah, well, you know what?